Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the Genessis Models Live. This is the 22nd live session we've had here. If you bring it down a little bit. If you remember, last week we were working on the MiG-15, and what did we do now? We did sort of like a nice panel line wash on this using ammo products. One thing to sort of note on this, because we go natural metal finish, I mean, normally I do like pre-shading, bleaching, post shading and stuff, sort of all sort of fancy spray wear. But I know with natural metal finishes, some people like to leave that out and let the natural metal finishes do the work. I've done that with this one. I personally don't like that technique. I like to kind of weather mine up, but you know what, it's always good to sort of show the different ways of going about it. So with this one, it is and let's maybe sort of bring you around, sort of zoom you in on it. With this one, you know, the panel line wash sort of does all your weathering. So hopefully, as you can see, you know, the panel line wash is like bringing out all the panel lines as well as the rivets and everything, and it sort of gives you that. And the whole point really of not doing bleaching, pre and post shading is it can sort of kill off the natural metal finish, whereas it does sort of keep that natural metal finish a lot more. Hopefully, as you can see, when you don't do all that fancy spraying. So it is a personal choice. As I say, I personally don't like it, but I know people do. Other thing is with this, I mean, I have been sort of moving along a little bit. I have put the landing gear on. You've got to be careful with this one being a tail sitter. It is so easy for it to just start sitting on its tail. So hopefully, you know, you have been putting as much weight in the front here as possible, as it says in the instructions, as well as the wheel orientation. I mean, if you don't get it right, if you have these wheels just sort of arcing a little bit, sorry, off camera, if it just comes that way just a little bit, that can throw it off balance and it be a tail sitter. So you've got to make sure you've got them in the right place also. So just to let you know about that. Tonight we're hopefully going to be jumping into like finishing stages and stuff. So we're going to finish off with wheel well doors, hopefully get a matte coat on this, maybe a bit of easy line. We'll just see how far we get. So fingers crossed we could finish it. Also, as always, you know, feel free to get onto the chat, ask questions, you want things answered, shout outs, all that kind of stuff. Just jump on the chat and I'll periodically be like checking the chat and see what questions we got. First off is gluing this stuff on. Now it's also because we've got all these little bits sticking out because we've started gluing them on and stuff, it's so easy to break them. So at this stage it is you know, be quite delicate with the model. So simply getting out sponges. So if we like turn this upside down, right, we want to sort of balance it in a way where it's not going to be touching any of our bits that are sticking out. I'm just checking it's not going to bend it, because that one is so close. Maybe if we just pump, that's it, put it on its canopy like that, and that sort of gets it. So at least we can like work on the underside, but you've got to be sort of careful. It's so easy just to knock it and break it. And also wearing gloves is a definite big one as well at this stage, because fingerprints is going to leave nasty marks and stuff. So also good to sort of have the instructions of like how the landing gear goes together. First off, let's just get out some sort of scrap plastic, absolutely anything. I'll sometimes use lids and pots, and you know what I've got here is just let's zoom you out a little bit. What we've got here is just some flock, which I'm just going to go off, and I'm just going to get some super glue and pour this on. Super glue, funnily enough, I have always recommended, and I've been using for years, the Zappa gas stuff. Really good stuff. However, you know what, I mean, over time I have sort of not gone towards using Zap stuff. I mean, I just find it so much easier to go out and buy some cheap super glue. And the only reason for that is, I mean, it doesn't matter how good the super glue is. You know, these Zaps products, they are good, but you know, you've got like a whole 1 ounce in here, and you use it a bit, you put it away, and it just all the time your lids start, you know, getting all gunky and seizing up and all that kind of stuff, and every time you open it you've got to sort of rip away and break away dried up super glue, and they just end up getting ruined before you can use them, which is why I kind of tend to go towards these cheaper ones, because they're smaller, hold less, and it's no big deal. However, in saying that as well, kind of contradicting myself, I do like their slow zap. I mean, it's probably a good idea to maybe get their slow zap, and then there's their it's the sort of like the pinky one, and basically it's different thicknesses. The pink one, I think it was like a fast zap or something, really dries really quickly. Slow zap, it dries really slowly, and there's different applications for that. But anyway, we're going to jump in and just use some cheaper super glue here. I'm going to pour it onto our little sort of like homemade palette just here. Because the thing is, we don't want to be using the super glue applicator because it's just too big. We're going to get big blobs, and this is a delicate bit of work. So I also like to quickly wipe the end with some kitchen paper towel, and I mean quickly, so it just doesn't like bite and you end up with tissue bits on there. Just keeps the end clean, so it just helps keep your nozzle going longer. You can use, I do have just in my drawer just here, which is right here, it's like a nice super glue applicator. It's got like a little forky bit on the end, so it sort of catches, I don't know if you can see that, actually it's kind of bent in a little bit. I could do with adjusting this. So I'm just going to slice down the middle here, because this should be open. There we go. So it's 2 tiny little prongs there, like a little fork, and you can just see them just there. Really good for like getting the super glue up. If you don't actually have one of them, I mean, you can go off and buy one, but I like to just maybe cut the pointy bit off a cocktail stick and just sort of cut right down the middle if you can. Right, so you basically end up making that little teethy bit yourself. Sorry, you're off camera there. Right, hopefully you could just see there, making that little teethy bit yourself, and that works just as good as a super glue applicator as well. But anyway, let's get off some of our pieces just here. This is piece 41. Let's cut off piece 41. I'm going to cut these off carefully, because I mean, this is a stage where, you know, they've been on the sprue still, just so as we can spray them. So we want to cut them off as carefully as possible to not sort of damage our paint work as much as we can. So that's been cut off. No big deal with that. I mean, it takes nothing to come back with some of the paint with a paintbrush and just paint that little bit just there. Still makes it so much more easier. Now, where does 41 go? That goes on the left side. All right, so what we're going to do just here is get out some tweezers. All right. Now, in this case, I do kind of, what I like to do, get the tweezers so we're not holding it, because I mean, if we're holding it and we've got super glue, it can be a bit of a pain. So what we're going to do is get a super glue applicator. I'm just dipping it in off camera, so that's holding a bit of super glue, and I'm going to put it in position and just sort of get that to just nicely start to bite down itself. Maybe a little bit more super glue. Let's just try that again. Touch with the applicator. Because it's got those little teeth, it just holds a little tiny blob. Might have to hold it just a little bit, and that there's just started to bite. I've only glued it in that one little point. It's just enough to hold it. So now I can go off with my super glue applicator, dip it into the super glue, and just touch the opposite side, right, which then should bite down as well. Right, then it's kind of up to you. I mean, you can come along with the super glue applicator, apply more glue. Right, I mean, you don't want to go so far you end up with a blob, but at the same time, I mean, you know, you want to get some glue on there that's not going to be too brittle. And I know some of you guys, you know, you like to do this as maybe like a bit of a business where you actually like sell them. I used to do that back in the day myself. And when I did that, I did sort of make sure I kind of put a nice couple of blobs of super glue in there, not enough to kind of ruin it and make it look like big blobs of super glue, but enough to really sort of give it some strength. Because you know, when you sell these models on commission, I mean, you got to send them in the post. You send them in the post, and you can have all sorts of stuff breaking off. And if you do a nice sort of very delicate, really brittle job, might be good for, like, you know, whacking in your own glass cabinet, but in the post they're just going to have pieces everywhere. Right, so I like to get that initial sort of bite, as we've got here again, just showing you. And then I like to come in with my applicator and just, you know, get a few couple more blobs in there. Right, and the cool thing about having, like, shall we say, I mean, the standard cheap glue is sort of, you know, thin enough so it's got a bit of a capillary action to, like, suck in there, and it sucks in and gets in behind it, just like you would the extra thin Tamiya extra thin cement with plastic. I mean, it does sort of like the same thing of sucking in and getting in between the two pieces of plastic and gluing them together. If you glue thin as well, I mean, you do get that same sort of effect. Now, that isn't in position like I want, so I'll just quickly rip that off. I do want to be careful, because when you whip super glue off, you leave behind a bit of super glue and it can make it look a bit of a mess. So hopefully it's not looking too bad. So again, I'm just blobbing in here. And when it comes to gluing this down, I mean, it is up to you what you use. I mean, I like to use super glue on the running gear, but it's totally up to you. You could use, you know, good old Tamiya extra thin cement. I just find that, especially with the actual landing gear, use Tamiya extra thin cement before you can actually then, you know, rest the model on all threes. You've got to kind of like wait for it to dry before you can do that. With super glue, it's more instant, a more instant bond. So we can just, you know, I did only actually super glue this maybe like 20 minutes ago. So, you know, I can just whack that on there and I ain't got to worry about it sort of, you know, slowly folding underneath its own weight or something. So let's just carry on with these. Right, maybe see if you guys got any any questions. Got a question actually from M. Reeves about explaining bleaching. I mean, if you look at a couple of live sessions backwards, I do actually no, I didn't with this one actually. I know on the Genessis Models website there's loads about bleaching, but I'll just explain through it while I kind of throw a few more bits and bobs on to our plane just here. So yeah, I mean, bleaching, that is it's a spraying kind of term for, basically it is what it says it is. You bleach down, like you paint, bleach down the main color. So you've got your main color, and then you basically take the main color, add a little bit of white normally, so you've got a lighter version of your main color, and it's really thinned down, it's really transparent, and say in between all your panel lines, you kind of spray it on in sort of like a mottled sort of way, and it gives you that sort of fading of paint, which is like a nice another level of weathering. All right, so that's kind of a quick explanation of bleaching. Where's part number 5 go? That goes on the left. So I'm going to dip this in the old super glue again, and then I'm going to try and carefully place this just into here, like so. I mean, actually on the wheel well doors, I mean, you probably could get away nicely with using Tamirex thin cement. You know what, that's not going in like I would want it to. It feels like it could do with actually using Tamirex thin cement. So I think I will for this wheel well. Because the thing is with Tamirex thin cement, if something just quite doesn't fit, not all the time, but like you can come along and you'll find the Tamirex thin cement melts the 2 pieces of plastic, and it can just, you know, bring what sort of like just doesn't fit and kind of brings them together. I don't know if you can see what I'm on about, but I'm just trying to push this into this little groove for it to slot into. I'm trying to get the Tamirex thin cement just to melt them together. I mean, I could trim this. Let's just try, there we go. Maybe just run that across. When you do that with Tamirex thin cement though, I mean, do be careful, right? Because I mean, I did just sort of run that Tamirex thin cement across there. You only want to just run it across, say, once, and very quickly, very lightly. If you push down too much, or if you pass over it 2 or 3 times, you're going to melt the paint. The paint's going to all smudge and melt, and then you've got a big mess on your hands. Now, where's the other door? Right, so once I've got these doors on, fingers crossed, we should be, maybe a little bit of brush painting, but should be ready to go ahead and actually spray our gloss coat on, which, you know, is kind of up to you. I mean, I know this is natural metal finish. Some guys do like to come along and maybe put a satin varnish down. I still like to keep my models nice and matte. I do like the matte coats. They do sort of finish a model off rather nicely. Now you may have also noticed, I mean, I did apply Tamirex thin cement first. I mean, normally with Tamirex thin cement, you kind of put the piece in place and then you like touch it with the Tamirex thin cement. But you know, I just found in this case a little blob there just to get it to bite, and then I'm actually, you know, coming in with the Tamirex thin cement then just to get it nicely positioned. So that's sort of coming together nicely with doors and stuff, and I'm still trying to keep these little pieces here from touching and knocking them and breaking them. Remember to get in any questions and answers you may have. What have we got here? 3 and 4. Okay, so let's take number 3. Let's just trim that up. Just got to remember to just go around the model. Which side does 3 go on? Goes on the left. Just remember to go around the model and do any kind of touching up with the silver paint. So again, I'm going to use Tamirex thin cement just to get some down. I'm going to need my tweezers just to get this into position. Hopefully it'll bite enough. There we go, and then get some more extra thin cement in there. There we go. Same with the opposite side. Just to let you know a few things going on at Genessis Models. We have got a group build. If you don't know about that, it's 1/72nd scale. What you've got to do, go to Genessis Models forum, and on the forum we do have like the build section for the 1/72nd scale GB for 2019. It's really good just to sort of show off your own work. To show off your own work, you know, send up pictures and stuff, show your build, and then at the end of it, in around about, I think it's June, it sort of finishes. You can then go off and I'll judge to see who's the winner, and we send out some nice trophies for you guys. I almost broke a little piece. See, that one's having a bit of trouble fitting now. I don't want to be like breaking my actual landing gear to get that to fit. All it is just it won't quite fit in there because the landing gear is in the way. So what I'm going to do is like cut this little tab off here so it'll fit a little bit better. Okay. Now it's not the way it should be, but it'll be enough just to get it looking alright. And there we go. Let's just push it out a little bit. Right, because I've done the super glue thing and I've got it just biting. Ah no, I knew I'd knock it off eventually. See that little piece there? It's finally come off. Oh, I should have done that last, although we are in the last stages, but I should have done it a bit more last. So I'm gonna get a bit more super glue on my applicator. Just touch that. It's got enough capillary action to suck in and around a bit and not leave a blob. I mean, when your super glue starts to get a little bit too thick, you know, on my little palette here, you might want to sort of just, you know, don't bother trying to use it and save it. Just pour out some more super glue, because when it gets too thick you end up with blobs. Right, you still want it to be, you know, fairly on the thin side. Right, so let's put you back into play. Right. Just being very careful. I'm going to add a little blob of 10x thin cement where it's meant to go, and then I'm going to just very carefully place this down. Hopefully my head's not getting in the way of the camera. See, it's just biting there, but then I need to position it. There we go. So that's in position, so I'll put a little bit more Tamiya's thin, only a little bit. And do remember, we are touching paint here, so we don't want to smudge it by keep going over it, but there we go, that's back into play. What we've got left, got some of this suspension bit here, so let's cut this off. There we go. Also, other things going on, I mean, we do have the FA18 step-by-step video build, which is different from these live builds in the sense that, you know, I've got like 3 cameras going on at it, and I edit them obviously. We get like you know, the cameras are better, so we can like zoom in and get in close and really sort of I'll kind of go into more detail with them. I mean, I don't really sort of skip any bits or anything like that, and they are hours and hours and hours long, so you've got loads and loads of video footage for them. Right then, so let's get a little bit of Tamiya extra thin cement in that little hole just there for this, just so it bites, and then it's going to attach. Just got to see where it's going to attach. I think it's attaching just about here. So a little dab of that. Then with tweezers, being careful not to break that again. Just orientating this piece here, and then we just place that in a little hole here. If it wants to go in, which it doesn't quite. There we go, that's very lightly in position. So let's get some more Tamiya extra cement in there now, because as I say, that first little lob was just to sort of get it to bite and just lightly hold in, and now we're actually getting enough in there to just fix it nicely in position. So let's do the opposite side. There we go. Just trim this up. So those of you in the chat, I mean, again, bring on any questions you might have, or even just let us know what maybe you're working on or building. There we go, a little bit there. Get out the tweezers again. Find a little spot, it's just holding in there enough by itself. And then we get in with a nice little bit of Tamiya extra thin cement there. Right, and I've got some little pieces, but I'm kind of thinking we need to move this along a little bit, so I think I'll glue these on later. Got a little bit of painting to do. I'm going to be using NATO black because we've got our guns just at the front. I'm actually going to make this kind of quick because it's only a little bit. I'm just going to pour a little bit out, and then we've just got our guns at the front. Right. I like using NATO black because it is, you know, a nice black, but it's not so black. I mean, it's more like a really dark grey. Right, because using full on black can be a little bit too much. You know, you never sort of really want to be using full on black. There we go. As you can see, I mean, I've already sort of given it one coat. I'm just putting on a second coat. And then there's this little top bit just here. Right. And then we sort of want to get out our original aluminium colour. Right. Because we've got a few touches up to do. So, what's that colour? Aluminium, here we go. Same aluminium we used, which was 701, which was by Vallejo. Question by Mr. Gav. What has been my favourite build at Genessis models? Ooh. Do you know what? I do remember the F14 Tomcat. That was an enjoyable build. I do like that one because I really went nuts with the weathering side of things. I kind of really sort of went into salt weathering techniques, all sorts of spraying, new techniques, stuff that I hadn't done before as well. And I just found it sort of really satisfying that I kind of tried all these new techniques, and you know, they did sort of pull off, and it's really a nice build to look at now after even all that time. That one's actually free on my YouTube channel to watch. I mean, I normally do sort of charge for all my step-by-steps, but that one I did kind of let out there free for everyone to have a taster of what Genessis models is all about. So I mean, if you want to go see that, go check it out, because there is so much cool weathering in on that one. So as you can see, I'm just sort of touching with the paintbrush wherever I've sort of had to like cut these little pieces off, and it's no big deal just to quickly do it. And there we go. I mean, we are basically done there. The paintbrushes I'm using as well, by the way, are probably some of the best paintbrushes you can get in the world. They are the Winsor & Newton Series 7 finest sable brushes. Really cool brushes. I mean, you ask anyone and they're all going to jump up and say, you know what, Winsor & Newton are probably like the best ones out there, and they are, because they are really good quality, really sort of durable paintbrushes. They are, you know, they are expensive, but I mean, do you know what, they're not, I don't think they're like mega expensive, to be totally honest with you. The reason why is because they get really expensive when you go up and you start having the really bigger size paintbrushes. But for these tiny little paintbrushes for doing our kind of miniature work, I mean, you know, they're not a major amount of money. They're just kind of really get into, like, you know, a couple of notes for a single paintbrush when you get bigger paintbrushes. But I love them. They're really durable. They last for a long time, so you don't have to, I mean, I've been using what is this 00 for years. I've only replaced it once over like a 5-year period, so they ain't that bad in price really for how long they last. Just checking, any questions? Got one question here. Doing some tank videos. Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, we mainly do aircraft here at Genessis Models. It's sort of our main focus, but I do like to touch in on anything and anything at least once or twice. Tanks is probably like the next thing we do here, and I haven't done one for a while, so yeah, I think we should probably touch on one again at some point. And actually, hopefully this is going to come to a finish tonight, so you never know, next week we'll be starting something new, so I'll keep that in mind, or even a step by step. Another thing is, it's always a good idea, right, if I just find my lighter, where's it going? I always keep a lighter. Super glue dries up into a big blob. It makes the super glue applicator basically, you know, stop working, because those two little prongs, I don't know if you can see the two little prongs in there, you might be able to just catch that, you know, that catches the super glue. But if we just get a lighter, very quickly just, ooh, bloody hell, that broke. Very quickly it just burns off the super glue, and then that's kind of ready to crack on again at a later date. I'll fix my lighter later off camera. There we go. So I think we can now start with a matte coat, or if you want to go off and do maybe a satin coat, that's up to you, but I think we've done enough here to sort of move this along. So when it comes to matte coats, you know, I have been going off and trying out all sorts of matte coats over the years. The best one I've found is by Winsor & Newton Matte UV Varnish. It doesn't change the colour of the model, doesn't whiten it or anything like that. It just gives you a nice matte finish. It dries fairly quick, and you get a UV protection as well, which I haven't seen any other matte products out there actually kind of support that kind of a claim. So what we're going to do is, as always, let's maybe zoom you out a little bit. There we go. Right, as always, let's get some, let's move this out of the way so I don't get paint on it. Get some homebrew thinners. Right, about 50-50 mix with our matte UV varnish. Again, homebrew thinners, always a good one to check out on the Genessis Models website. In tutorials, you'll see there's a nice section in there and it teaches you how to make your own thinners. Right, get a paintbrush. Right, and then we're just going to nicely stir this in and mix it all together. Let's quickly check any comments. Okay, Mr. Gav is asking, back to the Series 7, is it okay to use them with enamels? Personally, I use them with anything, lacquers, enamels, oils. I don't mind. They've lasted a long time, but the key thing to do is to get yourself a good sort of a brush cleaner. I personally use the Masters brush cleaner and preserver. You know, if you're using stuff like enamels and lacquers, I do sort of make sure I do clean my paintbrush straight after with something like this. It's a nice soap, it cleans it really well, really gets deep cleaning, and it's like a conditioner, like a hair conditioner. It sort of keeps the bristles all nice as well as keeps its shape. So it's good to sort of get something like this if you've got expensive brushes like Series 7, and especially if you want to use enamels or lacquers, because enamels and lacquers are going to wear your paintbrush down a lot quicker. But if you've got those brush cleaners, I've found, yeah, you know, they do still last a long time. So now we have, let's get sort of a kitchen paper towel down. Now we've got our mixture here for our matte. Now we can spray this. All right, so I'm just gonna maybe just start with one side. So let's just blast a bit through. All right, and we're gonna start off with a light misty coat. All right, so we're hardly spraying anything down. It's nice and quick, nice and easy. All right, as much as you can get all over the model. I mean, obviously, I'm holding this side of the wing, so I'm going to have to spray that bit later. The other thing is as well, which is quite cool, is we have on the underside, we did use super glue to glue in our landing gear. Right, super glue dries to a glossy, shiny finish. Right, so by coming along and putting a matte coat on top, you take away that horrible shiny kind of blobbiness of super glue. Now I've just slightly spilt my colour cup, so I'm just cleaning that, and then we'll jump back to it. I'm just cutting to air, all right, just to sort of dry out what I've just sprayed on, and then we can sort of, after the misty coat, which is, you know, really, really light, we can come in with a normal light coat. Right, a light coat is normally, you know, if you start to see the paint get wet, just move along, don't sort of let it cool up, go all blobby. It's just nice light coats. All right, in this game it's better to spray lots of coats than to just try and do it all in one go. Right, it just looks better, more professional, more smoother, neater. It sticks better to the model as well. Don't forget to get all your leading edges as well. And in and around your landing gear, because it's all sorts of angles for that. Right, maybe just let that dry a bit, and you could probably sort of see, I mean, you know, that it does change the model quite a lot by just putting that matte coat down. I don't know if you can see that. I know it is sometimes it's kind of like a personal preference. Matte coats, some people don't like doing it. When it comes to natural metal finishes, you know, the matte coat will sort of dull down the natural metal finish a bit. Some people, they do like to just, at this stage, not even put down matte coats, gloss coats, satin coats, just leave it as it is, and kind of keep that natural metal finish. I personally don't like it, but you know, there are other ways you can go about this. Now this does dry pretty quickly. I'm putting the air to speed things up, so I'll see if we've got any more questions. There we go. That's probably dried enough, so I can like come in with another light coat, just to make sure it's all going to be nice and matte and covered everywhere, and all the different angles. I'm going to have to let this dry a bit and then spray this little wing bit that I'm sort of holding. So if you've got any questions, comments, anything like that, I'll read them out in a bit while we let this dry. Okay then, so I think that's probably enough for that until like it's dry, and then I can like spray this other wing bit just there. So no comments at the moment, just get them in. Next stage, right, so to basically finishing this, we've got to kind of get the canopy masking off, but we need to do some easy line. Let's just get it out. Where's it gone? Nice German company, I think it's a German company. They do loads of these sort of lines for antennas, especially like World War I biplanes and stuff. Really good, different sizes, different thicknesses. This one I did buy. It's really thin. I personally think it's a little bit too thin, but at the moment I've only got easy line version. I think this one's they make this in the UK. It's called Easy Line. It's really kind of like thick. I mean, you can sort of see how thick that line is. Don't really want to be using that. Sort of like 1/72 scale, keep it nice and thin. This one's a little bit too thin, but yeah, I'll have to buy some thicker stuff in just to sort of let you know. But we'll do that in a bit. Is this going to be dry enough for me to hold it? Probably not, but you know, we are live, so I do want to sort of move along. So I'm going to just quickly spray this other wing, and I missed because I was holding it. You should be leaving yours longer than I've just left mine to dry, but I don't mind, because actually you could probably just see I've got like a little fingerprint mark there. Ron Starr is asking about my airbrush, about cleaning it, disassembling it every day. I don't disassemble it every day. I do find that a simple colour change clean normally keeps my airbrush kind of going good enough. And I do find, because I do this as a job, it's day in, day out, I'm not leaving it for long periods of time for it to really sort of dry up and go rock hard. So for me, a quick color change. I know I'm going to be in tomorrow spraying again, so doing a full complete strip down and cleaning it, it's probably, I mean, to be fair, I'll probably do it like once a month. But for you guys at home, I mean, if you know you're not going to be spraying for a couple of months, you know, strip it down, clean it, so it's all good for the next time you want to use it. But it's not going to hurt to kind of strip it down and clean it down. But you will have problems if your airbrush is dirty. And I think we're all good there. See, this is a close tail sitter, just almost so close. I wish I kind of put maybe a little bit more lead in the front, but if you haven't built yours yet, then I do recommend you add as much lead in the front as you possibly can. Right, so I need to leave that to dry now. I'd like to get the EZ line out and show you that, but I did just touch that in there and it kind of smudged a little bit, and you know, if we get the EZ line out, it's you know, it's a lot of, we need to sort of drill little holes and stuff. So I'll probably finish that off next week, because we are coming up to about the hour mark. So there's one or two little things I've got to do on this, but I can show you sort of next week those last little finishing touches. Let's just bring you in a little bit. Hopefully you could sort of see, I mean, it's just sort of bring it alive a bit when you get the matte coat on there. You've still got that natural metal finish, but it does get dulled down a little bit. Hopefully you're liking it so far. Next week, yeah, I mean, we're definitely finishing that this week. We've just kind of fell short from actually finishing it this week, and it's only down to the fact that it just needs drying time. I mean, I don't want to rush this and leave fingerprint marks trying to do those last final touches. So next week, a new build. I'm not sure what, I haven't decided what build I'm going to do. Just I don't know, leave comments down below, go to Genessis Models forum. There's a forum there, you can sort of, you know, go into suggestions section, suggest whatever. I know someone's mentioned about doing a tank. I do have some tanks in there, so I could probably like maybe pick one of them up. But really, I'm also thinking about starting a new build for a step-by-step as well. So get your comments in of builds you want to see, and we should hopefully be making a start on that next week. Well, finishing this and making a start on a brand new step-by-step. So hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. Hopefully it wasn't too slow kind of me doing all that bits of landing gear and stuff, but hopefully you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next week on Friday at 6 o'clock as always. So if there's no more comments, which I'm not seeing any more from you guys, thanks for all you guys who have been actually commenting and asking questions and stuff. It's really good if you guys ask questions, just to, you know, keep this interactive, which is the whole reason you know, I do this. So yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed. So until next time, my name's Bob Waldron, this is Genessis Models, and I'll catch you next time.